Yo, what is going on, everybody? I just want to say a big thank you to my boy Rollo Tomasi. Rollo, you may not know me, you may not have heard of me, but I've heard of you and I follow you, and you posted up this absolute gem just the other day. I got inseminated in a Burger King restaurant just off Route 57. So thank you for sharing that. And I had one of my other followers, thank you, you know who you are, that asked me to do a video on this. So here it is right now. Now, no surprise that this particular article is a Huffington Post article. Huffington Post personal article, which is a personal account from one of the writers for Huffington Post, from what I can ascertain here. And the name of this guest writer, okay, so she's a guest writer. She's writing as a guest, as the name suggests. I'm going to stop waffling now. I'm going to show you a picture of this guest writer. This is Miss Route 57 Inseminator. Now, this particular lady has wanted a baby since she was a little girl, but that can be quite difficult for LGBTQ people. No, it's actually not difficult. It's difficult for ugly people. It's difficult for feminists, because guys know that if you just want their semen, then you also want something else. Now, for those of you who are not aware of what that something else is, typically looks a little something like this. Just so you know. Since we're clear now, let's get into the article. Now, she's written this in first person as well, so she's writing her own personal account. Most people heading in for a late night whopper at the Kankakee, Illinois Burger King would have been shocked to know that a lesbian was meeting her sperm donor inside the restaurant. But there I was, outside the men's restroom, waiting for a paper cup full of semen. Classy, Joy. I would do anything for a baby of my own, even pick up free sperm at a fast food chain. Now let me guess, Joy. Let me guess. In your 20s and your 30s, you were a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. And by the way, that by proxy means you don't need a man's semen either. You were happy with your career. You didn't want children. You thought that being an incubator for a man's baby was oppressive. All of that feminist bullshit that you were taught in your gender studies degree, or your sociology degree, or your psychology degree, or any number of arts degrees, even a law degree spouts this kind of bullshit these days. Which is why it's no surprise to me that the first person, this is totally on a side note by the way, no surprise to me that the first person they actually had up in the Trump impeachment hearings was a law professor, feminist of course. And basically her argument was like, well, Trump's doing illegal things because you can't actually make your children, I think it was saying like, you can't name your children after nobility. But yet Trump named his son Baron. You can't make your son a Baron by calling him Baron? Like, this is how stupid these feminists are, particularly the college ones. And of course, the college ones, the 50-year-old ones are just college ones that got old, basically, which is, so I guess she's a college feminist, basically. You know, I'd wanted a baby since I was a little girl, carrying a baby doll everywhere. Okay, so look, I'm gonna eat some humble pie here, because I did make a presumption here that she'd never wanted kids, but clearly she had. But guys don't want to give her a kid, apparently. I'd wanted a baby since I was a little girl, carrying a baby doll everywhere, sure that everyone believed she was real, and knowing that someday she would be. Until one day I found myself 34 years old, single, lesbian, and feeling desperate. After a series of crazy ideas to get pregnant, including a sexy dress, a six-pack of beer, and an old co-worker who left town the day before I got to him. A gay friend who then tossed... Guys, this whole fumbling of words, this is what happens when you don't get enough sleep. So please, men, make sure you get enough sleep for your own well-being and for your own health. A gay friend who then tested positive for HIV. And a wild women's weekend. Well, that kind of goes without saying, right? That it's going to be wild. With drums and goddess chants that was followed by 2 missed periods, but no pregnancy. A cup full of live sperm in my hands sounded like a godsend. So, just so we're clear, a wild women's weekend with drums and goddess chants. So she thought that by chanting and fucking banging on drums that she was going to get pregnant and have a baby. Ay, 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 ay. This is the level of delusion we're dealing with here. The path to parenthood is tricky for LGBTQ folks, and I don't disagree with that because, you know, if you don't have a man and a woman procreating together, that's going to be challenging to have a baby. It's not just a decision, I want to be a parent, as it is for many non-queer people. From the beginning, there are ethical, financial, and legal decisions to be made. Yeah, because us straight people don't need to make any of those decisions about finances, about legal decisions, about whether it's ethical to have a kid. No, us straight people just fucking have babies with no consequences. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff that you poor LGBTQ people need to worry about, right? Your lives are so much fucking harder than ours, right? We've all got our own shit to deal with. Deal with yours and get on with your life. From the beginning, there are ethical, financial, not the least of which is, will I try to have a birth child, and if so, how? If getting pregnant is a viable plan, doing so with a donor friend can lead to battles over parenting rights, because they won't want a male to have anything to do with their child. Frozen sperm is expensive and brings loads of decisions, beginning with whether to use a known donor. So the child might contact the donor when they turn 18. Can't have the child having a father now, can we? Or an anonymous donor, no identifying information ever, as well as choices concerning the donor's race, ethnicity, health history, IQ score, even whether they had acne as a teenager. Other options for LGBTQ folks, including surrogacy, in vitro fertilization, and adoption, are also expensive and fraught with their own ethical considerations. I decided to go the frozen sperm route. I had moved from Virginia, where the options for a queer single woman without a ton of cash to obtain frozen sperm were few, to Chicago, where I had access to the Chicago Women's Health Center's insemination program for single and lesbian/bisexual women. Think about that. Chicago has a funded women's health center insemination program for lesbians, bisexual women, and single mothers, and a combination of all of the above. Think about that. They're literally giving funding to create single mothers. This is peak fuckery, guys. But by the way, this car, I know it looks different to my Golf. This is actually a Mazda 2 loan car. And the orange in the back is just like, I've got some, I don't know if you can see it, some orange crates there, and they're just reflecting off the sun. Just looks weird, like I've got a brake light inside of something. Let's continue. The path to parenthood is tricky, blah, 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 blah. You know what gets my goat just a little bit? When they write an article, but then they'll get like a little sentence from that article and then have like a big section, right? Just to emphasize that sentence that I've already fucking read. Kind of annoying. I knew from the beginning that I wanted a known donor, leaving the door open for my child to choose to make contact later. Oh, that's half decent of her. Each month I'd call the clinic to request they order my frozen sperm the day before I expected to ovulate. Just imagine that. Hey Jenny, yeah, it's Joy. I'm just about to start ovulating again, so can you just put in an order for a couple more buckets of jizz for me? The next day, I'd drive across the city to the clinic to collect My precious. The precious fluid in its metal shipping container that was half my height, filled with dry ice and looked like something out of the Jetsons. At home, I'd open the metal tube. Vapors just pouring over the lip, like you know in like those science labs and shit. Pouring over the lip. Chronic, you'll appreciate that one. Pouring over the lip and just rising around my hands and slowly lift out one of the 2 tiny vials of sperm. I'd inseminate myself using a needleless syringe, aka mini turkey baster, just as the clinic showed me to do, 2 days in a row, and then return the giant capsule, you know, that giant BBC capsule that probably was used for purposes it shouldn't have been used for, between when she got the sperm out of it and when she returned it. Not a party where Oh, this is why I love these live videos. You can't script this shit. Wow. I repeated this process unsuccessfully for several months. Then she says, "Do you know how expensive frozen sperm is? My friends threw me a big sperm party." Just imagine the confetti. Surprise! They pull it and fucking sperm just shoots out over everyone. Not a party where people bought sperm, which might have been a great idea, but a fundraiser to buy the stuff. Still, I quickly ran out of savings. My specific pregnancy dilemma was a combination of a limited income. What degree did you do, Joy? What degree did you do? Because if you have a limited income, it's pretty clear to me what type of degree you did. Oh, shit, man. This is great. And not being straight. Well, obviously, you're a lesbian. That is what it is. And thus not able to obtain sperm by the traditional no money down method. Well, you could, but you just didn't want to. You wanted other people to pay. Here's the thing. We all have to sometimes do shit that we don't want to do to get things that we want to get. So if you don't want to do it, be prepared to pay for other people to provide for you what you don't want to obtain for yourself, because you don't want to do what you don't want to do. So, and yet, ironically, sperm is not a scarce commodity. It's everywhere. I just couldn't get my hands or other parts on any of it. What I needed was some free sperm that brought with it no drama, no commitment, and definitely no sex. You couldn't get your hands or any other part, aka your vagina, on any of the sperm, but you wanted it with no sex. I don't understand how you expect, how you're complaining, "Oh, I can't get my vagina onto anywhere that would produce sperm, but I don't want sex." See, it's not that you can't get it. It's that you chose not to. So don't complain to us, right? You have a vagina. You have ovaries. You have a uterus. You can get impregnated by someone who has the equipment to impregnate you, but you just chose not to. And by God, those men dodged bullets by the truckload, because God, right? You think you don't want any drama. Man, these dudes that you could potentially get impregnated off, they're going to be on the receiving end of a hell of a lot more drama than anything you would have to deal with by way of the process of just having sex. One Saturday in the midst of this process, I went to an intuitive healing workshop with my closest friend and confidant, Ryan. Yeah, that'll get you pregnant. We wrote down goals and meditated, focusing on creating a life that we believed in. I was on that journey, but I was stuck. Not stuck in cum, apparently. The leader insisted, there is no stuck. We can move through anything. How about money for sperm? I thought, but she didn't address that. No, because she doesn't have an answer for you, because the answer is to just earn more money, work harder, do more hours. But ladies don't want to do that on average. The statistics bear it out. Australian Bureau of Statistics, in fact, put out a nice little chart that showed in every age group, From people's first jobs to their grave, men worked more hours than women on average, across the board. So there's no even disputing it. Late in the morning, we formed pairs, looking deep into each other's eyes while mirroring movements. My partner was a complete stranger, yet I felt this profound connection to him. He sat next to me at lunch, the energy radiating between us. As the group chatted, I told my story, coming to my current state, not pregnant and out of sperm money. You're out of jizz cash. Poor you, Joy. This lovely man, Drake, asked why I just didn't find a donor. I turned to him, got all shaky and... Wow. I turned to him, got all shaky, and dumped my entire glass of lemonade in his lap, grabbing napkins and leaning towards him to clean it up, you know. I stopped just short of rubbing his crotch. We all laughed, but I couldn't stop thinking about this man's private parts covered in my lemonade. Is that what you call your vag cream? Lemonade. The next day, as if spurred by karma though, perhaps just kindness, Drake called me and offered to be my donor. We talked through the complications, and he signed a contract stating that he would relinquish his parental rights should I conceive. Drake and his wife had not wanted children, but he felt a loss at not passing on his genes to another generation. He was tall and brilliant and approached our arrangement in a straightforward and gentle way. He was perfect! The only problem was that he lived in Normal, Illinois, and I lived in Chicago. That's a 2.5-hour drive if there's no traffic, and there's always traffic. Oh, that's a very good question, Joe Buddy. Did she relinquish her rights to child support? Assuming she even had a child, probably not. And even if she did, family court will just overturn that shit. You know how it is. The first time I inseminated myself using Drake's sperm was on a weekend. Drake and his wife invited me to their home for dinner, wine, and good conversation. I brought a date, not a typical way for lesbians to spend their time when casually dating, but she was game. After dinner, we got down to business. Shortly after retiring to a room on the lower level, Drake returned with a coffee cup full of his fresh semen. Good old jizz cups. Good old jizz cups. Using my handy little syringe to squirt the valuable fluid right up to my cervix, I inseminated in a room full of windows looking out into the woods. That's the only wood you'll be getting. During the night, deer came out to eat corn left outside in the moonlight. It was magical. But I didn't get pregnant. Of course you didn't, because you're about to be a walking egg cemetery. And unfortunately, we just couldn't do it that way every month. When you're ovulating, and you have to have sperm that very day and the next. It's one thing when you're in love and sperm delivery is fun and convenient for everyone. But when you have to drive 2.5 hours each way to get the sperm, and you figure out you're ovulating that morning by taking your temperature and pissing on a stick. She said peeing, but I said pissing. It's not a simple process. The next time I ovulated was on a Tuesday. And by the way, I am going to, what's the word for it? I'm going to dedicate this paragraph about Joy's ovulation to Sean C, who just donated $10 Australian. Kicking ass, brother Sydney, MGTOW rules. 100% it does, Sean. Thank you, brother. This one's for you. The next time I ovulated was on a Tuesday. On Wednesday morning, I had to be at work before 7 a.m. to set up a training for 50 people. My little Honda Civic hatchback. Hammerhand in the house. Gentlemen, indeed, sir. My little Honda Civic hatchback was jam-packed with training manuals, name tags, and an easel with paper. The back was full, but there were still 2 seats up front. And Royanne offered to drive with me. I called Drake as soon as I knew I was ovulating. He said, forget the trip to downstate. You know that exit, Kankakee, or maybe it's Dwight, near the men's prison? The only gas station and food for miles? This plan just cut my trip in half. Well, your chances of conceiving at that age are already well and truly in half. So hell, why not cut the trip in half as well? We pulled up to find Drake already at the filling station getting gas. I love the filling station. Sounds like she's there to be filled with a jizz cup and a syringe. Hey, so apparently Drake was cordial but direct. Hey, good to see you, he said. I'm in a bit of a hurry. I'm going to run to the restroom with this paper cup. Meet me there. As he went in, he handed me a jar of honey from a beehive he and his wife had looked after. Inside the Burger King, I tried to look casual as I waited just outside the men's room. Coolly, without the least bit of awkwardness, Drake walked out of the men's room, handed me a Burger King cup full of his semen, smiles, and headed out of the restaurant. Looking around, I took the cup into the women's room and used my little syringe to inseminate in one of the stalls. Now I couldn't let that valuable stuff leak out of me, especially after a wonderful man drove all that way to dispense it for me in a Burger King cup in a Burger King restroom, and I didn't even buy him dinner. Fertility books recommend that after a woman is inseminated. So, guys, just for a bit of context here, this chick is inseminating herself out of a Burger King cup in a Burger King restaurant. These fertility books recommend that after a woman is inseminated, she lie with her hips up on a pillow, allowing gravity to assist. Just picture this woman lying on the piss-covered floor of a Burger King restroom on the side of a highway with her legs up in the air and a pillow under her head. Oh shit. I'm just imagining her like cramped up in the store with like her knees up against her freaking chin because there's no room for her to like balancing on the toilet bowl. Unfortunately, I had no comfy pillows available and the back seat was full of training supplies. With Royan as the driver, I adjusted. Guys, just like close your eyes and paint a mental picture for yourself here after you smash the thumbs up. With Royan as the driver, I adjusted the passenger seat back as far as it would go, pushing against those supplies. I climbed in backwards with my head hanging over the seat where the legs usually go, and my feet sticking up in the air, and waited for nature to do its thing. It's so romantic, Joy. This is such a sweet story of you like being a human cum bucket. When we got back to Chicago, we stopped at a little spot on the Chicago River. I'd read in an old witch's almanac that if you put honey from the man you wish to become pregnant on a pumpkin and throw it in the river, that will seal the deal. The moon reflected on the water as I threw the sticky pumpkin while speaking words of my intent. Telling you I got pregnant that night would be the Hollywood ending to that story, but I didn't. Surprise, surprise! I'm going to tell you why that's no surprise to me in a second. Nor did I on the next trip to Burger King or the few we took after that. Hey, at least you got your loyalty card loaded up, right? Instead, I headed into the complicated world of infertility testing and insurance fine print. My insurance plan specifically stated that in order for this costly testing to be covered, I had to have sexual intercourse in a heterosexual relationship for at least a year. Tricky. Yes. Yes, it is. After covering some tests out of pocket, I ended up in the office of a new gynecologist who did not know who I was or was not having sex with. My test results? Blocked tubes. My only path to pregnancy was an emotionally and physically challenging as well as expensive in vitro fertilization process. I was exhausted. She said. The path to parenthood as a queer person can be a marathon. Well, maybe if you ran a marathon, guys would want to impregnate you. And by that I mean maybe you would drop a couple of kilos and be a little bit more trim. Because guys are attracted to looks. I'm not having an attack on her. This is just the reality of biology. It takes stamina and determination. Just the mention of wanting children seems to confuse friends, family, and medical professionals who are used to parents being non-queer. Oh, well, surprise, surprise, given that they're the majority, of course they're used to it. It's much better than it was when I began my process, but LGBTQ people must still push to be seen as potential parents. Each road, whether it's insemination, IVF, surrogacy, or adoption, is an uphill battle. Add infertility and the climb gets steeper. Medical and insurance policies, as well as adoption programs and legal procedures, are designed for the heterosexual user. Some policies leave queer folks out because our desire to be parents never occurred to the writers. Others are intentionally discriminatory. For me, however, being a mother was not being a mother was not an option. I reasoned that while IVF might or might not have eventually resulted in my birthing a baby, adoption would definitely make me a mum. The hurdles for LGBTQ and single people to adopt are also huge, but not insurmountable. I began an intensive search for a program that would bring me my child, saving every penny I did while I did my research. And by the way, Joy, single people indeed, but notice how that center was only for single women, not for single guys, right? Because us single guys aren't allowed to just, use a woman's like an egg and ovaries to create a baby, but you guys are allowed to use our cum and just go off and do your own thing and raise a kid without a father, which is, in my opinion, the most selfish thing you could possibly do, unless the father's genuinely abusive, which in most cases he's not. And if he is being aggressive, there's a couple of reasons. It was aggressive to begin with and you're a shit judge of character, or you have been emotionally torturing him by being a complete selfish narcissist and you've driven him to this. I'm not saying it's okay for men to behave like that, but I can understand why some of them get to that point with the emotional torture and bullshit that we have to put up with from some women. And this is why, I tell young guys, just stay away from marriage, man. Like, you're going to get married to a chick at 19, man, you don't know the world of hurt you're in for 99% of the time. In time, my casual relationship, she said, became committed, and my partner committed to not only to me, but also to the process of adoption. 3 years later, a beautiful infant boy became ours. His feisty little toddler sister came home 2.5 years after that. I became a mum in a 2-mum family. And my friend Royanne, who'd seen me through it all, became Auntie Roy. So this is the end of the article here. Joy Wright is the best of the net nominated writer, storyteller, and fucking surprise, social justice activist. What did I say at the start of the article about her doing some bullshit degree? What did I say? I said 100% like sociology or gender studies, and here she is, a social justice activist. Like, I fucking called this from a mile off. Unbelievable. So typical. You can find her telling stories around Chicago or cheering on her kids not so cleverly disguised as a soccer mom. I don't think any of the mothers are trying to pretend not to be soccer moms. They're soccer moms and they're proud of it. That's why they're driving around a fucking Range Rover or a Mercedes G-Wagon or whatever SUV of choice soccer moms are driving these days. I'm not a soccer mom, and I never will be, so I actually don't know what soccer mom's vehicle of choice is. But that's beside the point. Now, in this article, she keeps talking about how she keeps getting the mini cum buckets, aka the jizz cups, and she's inseminating herself, right? Here's the thing about insemination, lady. A, you need to be relatively fertile, which by your age, you're probably not. And B, it's almost like whoever our creator is, if there's a God out there, I'm not religious, but whoever our creator is, thank you, by the way, to my creator. Whoever our creator is, created human beings in a way, like we evolved in such a manner that we've actually gotten to a point where things only work when they're meant to work. Now, when it comes to impregnation, many of you guys have had sex with chicks who have been ovulating before. And you will know, the more you tease them, the wetter they get. I mean, like by the time it's done, it's like, there's like a string from their panties to their... And that string is basically the slippery shit that I don't know what they call it. I guess it's their version of pre-cum, right? But that slippery stuff is like the slip and slide for our cream pie. It's like the slip and slide for our cream pie. Legit. And what actually ends up happening is when she gets, most women will only have that substance in that quantity of any amount when they're ovulating and when they're really turned on. And that stuff is designed so that when you come, it actually makes it easier for your cum to travel, right? Like it's not acidic, it's not gonna kill it, it's gonna aid the travel of that through to the ovum, right? And the egg. That's the whole process. So I just want any lesbians or ladies that have been having trouble getting pregnant to understand that. This is why you're not getting pregnant. Because you're either too old, you've trashed your body with substances, with shitty food, with poor lifestyles, and with not understanding how your own damn body works, or a combination of the above. So this is why she wasn't getting pregnant from a jizz cup and a fucking syringe. Like, it just boggles my mind that she doesn't understand this. But hey, you know, girls are being taught that they can, you know, have sex at 12, 13 years old, but they're not being taught how sex works. Kind of stupid, right? It's like, hey, you can drive a car at 11, but here's the fucking keys, work it out yourself. Ridiculous. Oh. And I did, by the way, I saw someone before ask why I'm doing my video in a car. Well, because I do most of my videos in the car, and I do some inside, and I do some out on the street, wherever I feel like doing it, wherever's comfortable for me at that moment in time. And yeah, this is a Mazda 2, it's my loan car. Anyway, guys, really appreciate all of you, men. Thank you so much for being here. Man, every time I see this, every time I say thanks for being here, I want to say being involved, just like Coach Greg Adam does. It's almost like it's stuck in my head now. So thank you for being here and being involved. Appreciate the thumbs up, guys. Appreciate the comments. Appreciate the shares. Appreciate the donations also. In the description below, I got PayPal, Subscribestar, Patreon, crypto, any other methods by which you want to donate. And if you do want to support this channel and you like Google Chrome browser, but you don't like the fact that you don't have a lot of privacy with that particular browser, check out the link below. Brave browser using my referral link. It costs you nothing to download. You get the same as if you went straight to their website, and it does help support this channel. I think you'll enjoy it. You can use all the Chrome extensions as well. I've had a lot of people email me and say they're loving the Brave browser, so check that out, guys. If you want a privacy browser that's nice and fast but isn't Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge or any of the bloated ones with lots of shitware on it. All right, man, I'm out of here. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining. I look forward to catching you in the next video, but until next time, peace. Oh, wait. Shinobi 1, thank you for the $3.50 to go get a burger with. I'm not going to Hungry Jack. I'm not going to Burger King, bro. I think I'm going to go to McDonald's or somewhere else, or I might just go to a healthy food place. Appreciate you guys.